Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Leanne. This is Scotch on the Bayou, and it's Tuesday night, and I'm so glad y'all are here. Excited for this sherry time we'll have together. Already got some folks in the chat, so it's great to see everybody. Um, First and foremost, I feel like I'm a little bit of a broken record on the quality of the video. Holla for Robert from Cox Communications today, who's out. We have determined what our issue is with the video freezing, and it is out on the line. So we've got a bucket truck that'll be showing up hopefully tomorrow. So hopefully this will be the last time you see me freeze and all that kind of stuff. After 6 weeks of troubleshooting, we've finally figured out what the hell's going on. So thanks for your patience with that, everybody. I really do appreciate that. And, Drew, my buddy Mike, all of you all have tried to help me troubleshoot this. And so I really do appreciate that. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about sherry tonight. Sherry matured, sherry finished, just what is it about sherry and why we want to have that treatment to our whiskey and why we like that type of maturation in our whiskey. But first, I want to go over and see who all is here tonight. I see Paul in. Paul, you got the first award, so congratulations with that. And I love it. You got the gator working with your Scotch emoji. Big deal on that. And right there with you, John. Good deal. So John's got some Glenrothes whiskey, the maker's cut. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Actually, I sent a bottle of that. We met Sean from the Scotch for Dummies down south when he was traveling down here, and I sent that bottle back there with him. So that's good. So my mark is on. Hey, honey. And my buddy down south in the Bayou, Trooper Henry. Good to see you. Thanks for being here, my friend. And Brian Kilco, check him out. He streams 3 times a week. Always fun. Dude has a really good food. Like follow him on Instagram. I swear you might gain some weight just looking at all the awesome food that he has. But yeah, check him out. And good to see you, Chad. Thanks for being here. You'll have to tell me what sherries are y'all pouring tonight. Um, I am I'm almost afraid to tell you how many bottles are on this big desk I have. Um, I'm not going to drink them all because I wouldn't be able to go to work tomorrow. But I have 15 bottles of sherry mature uh, single malt whiskey on my desk because I can't make my mind up what I want to talk about. So we'll just talk about all of them. Good to see you, Andrew and Bourbon Neophyte. Hey, that's a new name. Thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Daniel Hayes. Hello, everyone. Yes, thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, so sherry, we talk about sherry bombs and sherry matured whiskeys. And the thing about sherry is we don't really drink it. It's not a table wine. It's not, I see, we in the States, especially will have a Cabernet or a Merlot, or, you might have a Zinfandel or different types of wine, but the Spanish wines aren't something that is an everyday drinker here. And you start thinking about, we really like sherry matured whiskeys, but there's not a lot of sherry being drunk, if you will. And so that's this lopsided correlation between, supply and demand. We demand some sherry, matured scotch, but the supply is low because there's not so much demand in proportion to the sherry that we want, the sherry that's actually consumed, at least by us. It's very much consumed, I'm sure, in Spain and in the Mediterranean areas. I know Mark, my husband's mom, liked a little glass of sherry, and she had these really sweet little sherry glasses. She might have a little bit, and I always thought it was more of a cooking thing, to put sherry in sauces and to deglaze a pan with sherry to, bring out some of the sugars and sweetness in a sauce that you might be making. So when you look at that and you think about all of these sherry influenced whiskeys, and how predominantly they are within the Speyside area and region of Scotland. It's kind of crazy. It's like, where's all this stuff coming from? And what's the difference between, Manzanilla and a Fino or an Oloroso or a Pedro Jimenez? What are those differences? And there are even more beyond that. So we'll talk some more about that tonight, um, along with figuring out and just kind of maybe putting some names to some bottles. So what I want to do, there's no guest tonight. It's just me. Um, and we're going to go through 4 different types of sherry, kind of talk about the sherry itself and what flavors it imparts. And then we'll talk about what tasting notes we get off of certain expressions, and we'll give examples. So I really need participation from you all tonight to let me know what you all think a good expression would be for that particular type of sherry. So we'll go back to our comments here. Oh dear, you'd love some Trooper. I'm sorry you're not feeling good, hun. I hope you feel better soon. So no drinking tonight. Take lots of fluids, lots of water, and feel better for that. And everybody just have a sip for Trooper tonight, so he feels like he's getting there. Brian, I have been singing that song all day. The Sherry, Sherry, baby. I'm not a singer, can't you tell? I'll stick with the content. Thank you very much. So let's see who else. Okay, so Chad's got an Adelphi Laudel, batch 3, a Dalueni. Okay. It's 12-year sherry bomb. All right, man. I bet that is good. I've not had a bad Adelphi. That great independent bottler. They can go in and just cherry pick certain cask, and I'm not even sure if they even do stuff with the cask or if they just go straight from the distillery that they get it from. Interesting on that. Cool. Glad you made it. My buddy Zach's in tonight. Awesome. That's very cool. And Jim, great. Thanks for being here. And Tootie, my sweet Tootie, my cousin Theresa. Thanks so much for being here, sweetheart. I love you, and I can't wait to see you. And you have been on my mind, keeping up with you, with mom, But yeah, so we're gonna have fun. One of the things I did when I was really getting into this is you look at sherry and you think, okay, I mean, I like wine. I drink wine occasionally, and probably more than I did before I got started into Scotch. But I, Spanish wine certainly wasn't something I had all the time. So what I ended up doing is going to the store and buying 4 bottles of sherry because I wanted to taste the wine. I wanted to taste the wine and then taste an expression that had been matured in that type of cask and try to find that correlation. And so I have the thumbnail that you saw today is a picture of these 4, and I'm going to see if I can do this without dropping them. We'll see. And turning them to where you can read the labels. One moment, please. I make a lot of noise. I know. Okay. So these are 4 sherry expressions. There we go. So we have Manzanilla, we have Pedro Jimenez, which is real like dark, Fino, and Oloroso. There we go. That's better. So you can see there's a huge difference in the coloration of sherry. So when you see a Scotch that's, matured in sherry casks, it doesn't really tell you which one it is. You kind of have to do a little bit of investigation. And there are white wine sherries and there are red wine sherries. And I seem to have accumulated more of Oloroso than anything else. But what I want to do is I'm going to start out with the white wine first. And I just want to come back through here. Hey, my brother's on. And I want to say a shout out to this guy. This guy, one of my LSU Tiger friends, RJ, is living his best life in Cali now. And he has an affection for Lagavulin. So that has a lot of sherry in that maturation. Thanks, RJ, for being here. I'm super excited you're here. And Zach, you're on a Glenalky 10-year cask strength batch 3. So is that a sherry or is it a different wine maturation? Zach, I'm interested in seeing that. Interesting. Cool. And okay. And Jim is pouring wafts you to heaven. The wafting method of smelling something. I love that. SMWS, Scotch Malt Whiskey Society, bottling a 22-year-old Ardmore. So, Jim, is that one, is that a sherry matured Scotch? Interested in seeing what that casking is. Very cool. Yay. Awesome. Super. Yeah. So when you look at the different types, and the 2 white wine versions are Manzanilla and Fino. So let me come back over here and see. Did Jim answer me? Cool. So when I was learning Spanish in high school, we had a Spanish teacher who was very Arkansan. I lived in a rural part of Arkansas, and before I moved down here to Louisiana, and she, God love her, she tried to teach us Spanish with a heavy Southern accent. So it was attenzione clase instead of attenzione clase. So I'm trying to learn and go back to my fino and my manzanilla, and try to roll the R's, and Pedro Jimenez, Oloroso, that kind of thing. So anyway, it's a lot of fun saying that kind of stuff. But the manzanilla and the fino are 2 white wine versions. And, you also have, beyond what we normally know of Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez, there's Amontilla. There's also Amontillado and Palo Cortado. And I know there was a Deanston Palo Cortado that was really lovely. And Bunnahabhain does some really interesting finishes in sherry as well. Okay, so Jim is not, so he's doing, that's the straight bourbon. His next pour is going to be Glendronach Cask Strength Batch 8, which is all PX, Pedro Jimenez. So if you see the PX instead of it spelled out, that's what that is. And then Oloroso. You had me at Glendronach. Interesting. Okay. So looking at the white wines, the Manzanilla, it was interesting in looking at my collection and what I had. I don't have a whole lot of Manzanilla matured sherry. And when you actually smell the sherry, you get a wine. I mean, you can tell it's wine, right? You get those wine notes, but it's also very floral. It's super sweet on the front end, but when I tasted the wine, it was extremely dry and somewhat salty. It and Fino, Manzanilla and Fino are very coastal tasting to me. And what I did have for the Manzanilla is it's called the Quattro season by Tomatin. And they did a 4-pack, and it was Fino, Manzanilla, Oloroso, and PX. Each 12 years. And this one, I poured a little bit, but I'm going to pour a little bit. So my question to you all is, for Manzanilla, what do you get off of the Manzanilla? And do you have a particular expression that you've had before that you like that was the Manzanilla, the lighter white wine version. If you just look at this, you almost would think, oh, well, that's going to be a bourbon matured. This doesn't have sherry color. And that's the thing. Sherry doesn't have to be the deep, robust reds that you think of. Oh, man. So, yeah, it's one of the characteristics of the wine, I think, really flows into the whiskey is almost like a doughy or yeasty characteristic. I mean, it's very bright. It's almost like I'm getting more of a fresh fruit, apple, pear, like green fruit on it. And yeah, very salty. So not super sweet. It actually smells sweeter to me than it tastes. But I get that same sensation of like a really dry white wine. I'm working on my eyes there. I could have gone Texas and gone dry white wine. A really dry white wine. And it's really pretty tasty. So I mean, I like tomatin anyway it goes, but this 4-pack was a really pretty good deal. I think each of the bottles retail for about $50, and I got it kind of on a clearance sale, we'll say, kind of a friend deal clearance sale. Awesome, cool. Hey, want to say hello to my girl. Hey, Shayla, good to see you. And tell us in the chat. I think you're sitting in for Roy tomorrow, right? I mean on Thursday. So let us know about that. Not only does the woman know her whiskey, check out our channel, but she's an unbelievable artist. You should see some of her paintings. Follow her on Instagram so you can check out that. So the Manzanilla is pretty light. I mean, it's much lighter than you think of a sherry bomb being a heavier taste. And that makes sense. And what I wanted to do too is also say, so one that was just strictly that maturation and then maybe a peated one as well. So I didn't have one actually. I think that was the only Manzanilla that had. So the other white wine would be the Fino. And we're going to go through these two kind of quick because I think we're going to spend our time on the Oloroso and the PX because that seems to be the most prolific that I definitely have. So the Fino is about the same route. The thing about the way that they do the sherry and the fermentation of sherry is for Fino, as it's maturing, they'll put a layer of yeast on top of the wines as it's fermenting, and it basically cuts off the oxygen from the air to be able to come into it. So it's almost like, I don't know that it's like a mask or some type of non-permeable surface that accumulates on top of the wine. But what it does is it allows for oxygen not to go into it. Whereas the sherry and the PX, they're open to the air. So they're pulling in a lot more oxygen as they ferment. And I think that adds to the overall richness of those two types of sherries as opposed to the Fino and even Manzanilla that are much lighter, Cool. Yeah, and I'm sure, yes, I'm getting a little indication that my Wi-Fi is not great right now. Thanks for the reminder, Mark. We are plugged into the Ethernet cable. It's a problem at our line out of our house, and our internet service provider is working diligently to try to take care of it. So I would say if it's bothersome, consider this a podcast because the audio has been great, but the video, God knows what kind of faces I'm making on this. And I really do appreciate everybody's patience. I do. But the pheno, one of my favorite expressions of that. So tell me which pheno you all like. And one of my favorites is the Distillers edition Oban. It's a Montania pheno. Say that 5 times fast. This particular one is the 0317 version. And it really is, like I said, I'm not going to drink all of these bottles that are up here, but this particular one, I just love it because one of the other characteristics is almost a citrus to it. And I find that interesting with sherries because you travel around some of the different fruits, fruit taste, either fresh, I get off of the white wine sherries, and then more stewed or baked, cooked fruit over in stone fruits in the darker sherries, right? But just this particular bottle, I've got a review. I've got a camp dram of this Oban Distillers edition, and it's all about citrus and honey. A citrus honey, a little vanilla, just lovely. And then, but wait, there's more. On the peated side of pheno, and this is a shout out to my buddy Mark JG because I know he's a Kilhoman fanboy. But this Kilhoman pheno sherry matured is so delightful. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you've had this particular expression. This is last year's version, and I do have to have a splash of this, even though I'm gonna peat myself before truly the splash. More for the effects of smelling it than actually drinking it. Okay, so Jim, great minds think alike, friend. Yeah, so the Kilhoman pheno sherry finish. And so that also tells you, like, okay, it's a finish or is it matured? And that in itself could be its own show because for me, matured means it sat there a while, probably at least 3 years it sat there. Finish to me is a more of a monthly type area where it went in one primary maturation and then was sent off to get a little something off of a finish. So some things you have a sherry finish where it may have sat in bourbon barrels. So Glenmorangie Slàinte is a good example. I would actually call that double matured maybe because it's 10-year in the bourbon and then 2 years in a sherry cask. So yeah, so you get that Kilhoman kind of lemony, malty peat, but you get the dryness off of the pheno. I mean, you get a really a nice medium dry finish coming off of this with a little bit of salinity that's not normally known in Kilhomans. I don't think, when I think of an Isla that's got a lot of salinity, I think of a Lafroig. I don't think of Kilhoman as doing that because it's a little further in. I mean, it definitely gets effects by the ocean air, but not like being right on the water. That is so tasty. Yeah, it's really good. So again, that Kilhoman, it is so good, isn't it, Zach? Hey, good to see you, Chris. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I really do. So Andrew says the only pheno finish he's got is the 2018 Lafroig Cartridge. Man, yeah, I bet that one is really tasty. I've had the PX Cartridge, but I haven't had the Fino ones. I bet that would be really tasty. Thank you for sharing that. Um, and Daniel's saying, curious, do you think the fruit notes on the nose come from the European oak cask as much as the sherry itself? Um, you know, I think you probably get some of that, Daniel. I think most of the fruit is coming from, I think, a combination of the spirit and the influence of the sherry in the cask. I think where you get the biggest bang for your buck on the European oak is in the spice that might be at the end and the finish, because that's where I think the Spanish oak has a far heavier influence than American oak does, is on the finish, particularly. Man, that's really tasty. I love that bottle. And I've gotten to share that bottle. That's a cool thing. I took this to Houston, the Kilhoman Fino, and shared it with my friend Jennifer's Whiskey Club. And it just tastes better when you're sharing it, right? Of course it does. Cool. So, hey, Daniel H, good to see you. I'm glad you were here. Let us know what you're pouring tonight. We're all about that sherry life, sherry life, sherry life. So yeah, so that's Fino, the two white wines, Fino and the Manzanilla. And let's see what else. And we get into the reds, and that's really I'm looking at this and I've got so many different Oloroso or Oloroso and PX. I don't really have a PX only that I could find that I could really research fast. I do have a PX peated that we'll talk about. But before we get into that, one thing I do want to bring up too, and that is the method of maturation. So, okay, you got spirit coming off the still. It could go in a barrel, a cask. Is it going to go into a double maturation like a bourbon for a while and then maybe a sherry for a double maturation or a finishing? Or, where do we get these casks and how is all that handled? And one thing, this particular one, I have a camp dram on this, the Glenfiddich 15 Solera. So the Solera system is a maturation system that is very different than a singular cask, where you're putting just, new make in that one barrel, that one cask, and letting it sit. This is going into a series of connected barrels that flow in one from another as liquid is taken out of the end. And so you may have this whole entire dunnage house full of a Solero piped casks. And, some of those casks can be, 30, 50, 100 years old. But that liquid is working its 15 years around through those different casks. And for this particular one, that's all been taken and batted and then made, bottled into the 15. But like I said, there's a review, a camp dram of that with a great explanation of the Solera system. But for the most part, a single malts that I have here to talk about, and we'll talk now about the Oloroso. So this is actually Oloroso sherry in this one, and it's very popular, of course. Oh man, I could have a little sip of that too, along with everything else. But as I was talking about earlier in the fermentation part of the wine, it's left to the elements, and so the oxidation of it adds to the fullness and the richness. You're getting a darker color because these are red grapes. We've moved from white wine to a red wine now. Very intense flavor and almost a nuttiness. I get more of there's still a dryness, which I get from most wines, but you're getting like a bittersweet chocolate, tobaccos, kind of this earthiness, almost a balsamic without, like a balsamic reduction. So not the balsamic vinegar, but when you reduce that down and the vinegar kind of boils away and you just get this kind of syrupy, sweet goodness. That's what I think about on Oloroso. So let me know in the chat in the comments what your favorite Oloroso Scotch is. And I want to go back through the comments and see what else we've got going. Yeah, so Chris, when we were talking about that, about the Loch Gorm. Now, Loch Gorm is, it's not Fino. It is Oloroso and a wine, I believe. I just had that the other day. But yeah, so I think it's Oloroso and maybe a different type of wine. I think it even changes year to year. So I have to check on that one for sure. So I'm talking about those carches. Oh, Andrew, we all need to come to your house. 6 different carches. And if for those who don't know, carches, I believe means friend in Gaelic. So it's the friend bottle. So we're all friends. So we're coming to your house. But yeah, Portwood. I think we need to have like just a port show as well. I might get my buddy Mike from over in Inverary to talk about that too, because he's all about that port life. Kilhoman has a heck of a good port matured expression, and I've got a Glenallachie too. I want to try pretty soon. That's also port. And let's see what else we've got down in here and looking. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna make sure. Hey, we got Malt Muser. Thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it. And Mark JG, I see you snuck in here. Hello, my friend. I spoke Kilhoman and I conjured you up as it should be, right? That's great. Oh man, I miss you guys so much. So yeah, Oloroso, when you start thinking about that, again, just that really full body, there's so many. And this is where you start really getting into something. Is this coffee or is this Scotch? This is an Edredauer that is a 10-year, and it was done for Specs over in Houston. And it's full Oloroso. And to me, I would think that was an awfully fresh cask. So this was not a second or third fill cask. This is, sherry was dumped and then put in here. And I think too, when you think about the supply and demand of the cask itself, sherry matured Scotch is definitely more expensive because the resources required to mature it are more expensive. That sherry butt not only is bigger than a bourbon barrel, but it's harder to find. And they use them for so long in the bodegas in Spain that it's just, they don't give them up. Way back in the day, they would ship the wine, the sherry wine in the cask to Scotland for consumption. And then it turned into, no, you're not going to get our cask. We're going to keep those. We'll bottle it and then send it to you. And so that's where you have families, family distilleries or distilleries making, like lifelong, generation-long agreements with bodegas in Spain to secure their supply of casks. Glenfarclas is a great example of that. They have worked with the same bodega for like 7 generations. They know where those casks are coming from and how they're going to be used, and they use them to the nth degree. And when they're probably finished with them, they're going to send them to somebody else for second, third, fourth fill sherry as well. I don't know how much you can get out of a cask after the third or fourth fill, but I'm sure someone's going to try it. So I've got this Edredauer. So that is one. Another one that is a favorite of mine is, let's talk about a lowland, and that would be this Bladnoch Adela, 15-year-old. And this one, okay, first of all, is this not the most gorgeous bottle? I mean, this up next to another Sherry Bomb of Tamdhu. These are just, I love this bottle. It's just so fun. And you could hurt somebody. Like if you needed a weapon, this this uh this Bladnock metal cork would hurt somebody badly. So this is the one I'm going to go ahead and pour for our Oloroso tasting. Again, I'm going light tonight, guys. It's just God, beautiful bottle. I love the bottle. And this one is a little it's it's a little sentimental because my last trip over to Scotland, I was at I think it was at the Bonaccord or yeah, I was at the Bonaccord and a very nice gentleman and his son were there. And once they heard this accent, you know, they had to talk. And he bought this Dram for me. It was the first time I had it. And I was like, oh my goodness. But yeah, on this Oloroso, I mean, it's to me, it's more of a savory. It's sweet. Don't get me wrong. It's sweet, but you get a lot of savory notes on that. And I want to hear from all of you on what you're liking here. So I'm going to squint. So, okay, RJ, boo, I got you. Yeah. The Abalor Abuna. This one will knock you on your butt because I think this one's 62.3. I don't have glasses on. No, 60.8. Yeah, this one's a little stout. Total sherry bomb, right? Just absolutely fabulous sherry bomb. That, and then this is one that we had at the Bastards Ball. This past year, the dummies grabbed one of these at Specs, and that would be the Hazelburn 13. That's all Oloroso. And this one, this one in particular is interesting because you have the depth of the flavor from Oloroso, but it's triple distilled because that's what they do for the Hazelburn expressions at Springbank. Goodness. So let's see what else everybody else is drinking. Hey, Carlos, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Well, thank you, ma'am. I have had some of these bottles. I need to open them, but I need some folks to open them with. So anytime you want to come up to the Bayou show, you just come and let me know. Yeah. So Ender says a lot of the bottles just say sherry and don't specify which one, but just have a Milroy's James Eddy 13 Old Monarchmore that fits. Well, that's interesting. Huh. I've had a couple of Monarchmores. It is kind of it's a little aggravating, you know. Tell me what I'm getting. If it's sherry, tell me what kind of sherry I'm getting. That kind of goes into like full disclosure and transparency in what they do. And I think some of that is tied by the perception that maybe a second or a third fill sherry isn't as good as first. It's just different there. And I think we all have, raise your hand, say hello, whatever. You've had some sherry, matured Scotch that tasted like some sherry that someone threw whiskey in, as opposed to it complementing the whiskey, you know, or adding a layer to the whiskey. Some of them have been very heavy-handed. And that's where you go, okay, what am I supposed to really be drinking? Is it supposed to be sherry or is it supposed to be whiskey? And I'm not saying that sherry was put into it. I'm just saying the maturation was so heavy, so heavily sherried. It absorbed so many characteristics from the sherry that it really didn't even taste like, you know, Scotch anymore. So this is the Adelphi. I mean, not Adelphi, what I'm saying. The Bladnock Adela. And again, 15 years old and just rich, again, savory, almost meaty. I know those who've had the Kilchoman, not Kilchoman, sorry, back up. Kilkerran 8s, the sherry ones, to me, that's just like steak in a bottle. It's just very savory. Oh goodness. Yeah. But again, you kind of get a nuttiness. It's not super, super sweet. Not like a PX. To me, PX, the Pedro Jimenez is a dessert wine, almost to Muscatel or Muscat, very, very sweet. But the Oloroso is what we predominantly think of, I think, as sherry. And certainly the majority of the different maturations that are out there. So let me know if y'all have had that Bladnock, what your favorite sherry Oloroso expression is. Now, here is, I'm not going to open this one up because, again, I'm going to partake lightly. A peated version of Oloroso. And one of my favorites. It's a NAS, non-aged treatment. So there's a little bit of old, a little bit of young, but the Lafroig lore is, oh, can I just tell you, this one to me tastes like cherries, stewed cherries, and the burnt, crispy outer shell of a marshmallow that went flaming and you blew out the flames. And you kind of get that charcoaly, crunchy, burnt sugar shell on the outside of that marshmallow with stewed cherries. That's what this bottle reminds me of. I absolutely adore the lore. So is there a peated Oloroso that you all like? So let's go back up and see. We've got John. John's having Tamdu 4. Tamdu. That Tamdu batch 4 is so very tasty. I absolutely love them. I think I've got 3 in 1. And I'm really kind of leaning towards the 3. I think I've had a sample of the 4, but I don't have a bottle of that one for sure. But that's super tasty. So yeah, the Oloroso, again with the nuttiness, and you're getting, chocolate, kind of earthy, stewed fruits, but not super sweet. And this one is it's 46, but man, it drinks a lot lighter than that. So whiskey nose. The signatory Edradour single malt tonight. So if it's Edradour, I guarantee you it's got some sherry influence there, right? And Andrew's got the Tamdu Debeli Dram 4. Interesting. Yum. Chaz talking about elements of Isla peat and sherry. It's fantastic. Yeah, that lore. I just, I got a couple of my my bourbon buddies hooked on that for sure. Daniel H says, I was standing at the whiskey wall when you said lore and was looking directly at it. Done. I am so glad I can be an influence upon you, Daniel. That just makes my night. Let's talk about subliminal, right? That's hilarious. That's great. Okay. So this hour is like poof. And we have one more to talk about, and that's this. So I'm going to date myself here a little bit with the cough medicine, the pre-emulsion for children. I mean, this is what this could be coffee. This could be, this is just so dark. And when you open this wine up and you smell this wine, and it smells exactly as it is. And what I mean about that is PX, or Pedro Jimenez, is a particular type of grape. And they take the grapes and they dry them into raisins. The raisins are then crushed, pulverized, and that is, instead of taking a fresh grape and doing that, they're drying it, concentrating those sugars, getting rid of the excess water, concentrating the sugars and drying them to where that just, the amount, I mean, this just smells like someone took a pile of raisins, threw it in a Cuisinart, and just chopped the hell out of it and put a little alcohol in it. It just smells so scrumptious. I cannot even tell you. That is all going to translate to the maturation of PX, right? So I want to see what else. Goodness, let's see who else is in here. I thought I saw it. Oh yeah, Mr. Whiskey Shits is in. Great, good to see you, friend. You have to tell me what you're drinking tonight. So yeah, so on the PX, that is where I think more of the stone fruits, more of the Christmas spices. Again, I think you're getting a little bit more of that from the European spice, European oak rather, that spice from the actual wood. And then I get the stone fruits, so plums, dates, raisins, those types of things, all those things that I put in my fruit cake. So I make my grandmother's fruit cake, my dad's mom's fruit cake, and I have the recipe out on scotchandthebayou.com. And I actually put, when she would make it, she would use dates, raisins. I think it calls for three cups of pecans, and cherries. So none of the unidentifiable fruit that you see, none of the green stuff, the yellow stuff you see in fruitcakes. This is a fruitcake you want to eat. This is a fruitcake that barely has enough flour to make all the fruit hang together, and has grape juice in it. And then she would use Old Crow. So I come by this naturally, y'all. Between my papa and his dad running the still in West Tennessee, and my nana drinking Old Crow, I didn't get far from this. Anyway, so she would pour like half a cup. I think it calls for, and I use Glendronach 12, so I put that in the fruit cake. Then what she would do, she generally made it after Thanksgiving for Christmas, and she would make it in a bundt pan, and have the circle, the opening in the middle of the bundt pan. She would put that in a tin, and she would soak it with Old Crow and put a jigger in the middle of the opening of the bundt, and the opening that the bundt pan made, and she would fill that up, put the tin lid on it, and put it in the back of the fridge. And then she would check it like every week, douse it again, fill the jigger back up from the evaporation, and just keep doing that for 4 weeks until Christmas. Everybody likes that fruitcake. Let me just tell you, it's not going to be the one you're going to use to keep your door open. It's going to be the one you eat. So check that out on the site, and I'll put a link in the description for that. But yeah, so PX is what I get more. I get more of like the dark chocolates, almost a little bitterness. I get more of a coffee almost off of that as well. And I was trying to think which one I wanted to try. So I don't have anything that's strictly PX, but the Glendronach 21 Parliament, that, and the 15, both of those are PX and Oloroso. And I think the PX comes out in this far more. Of course, the Allardyce, the 18, I think is all, the ones I have are all Oloroso. So yeah, that's really pretty tasty. So Andrew says, as far as Scotch goes, the Deanston 10 PX is your favorite. I don't think I've ever seen one of those. And they have a 21 Palo Cortado. Now that I've heard of, but even better is the Milroy's exclusive McMira. Okay, from Sweden. Okay, so help me out, because Milroy's, is that an independent bottler of McMira, or is that the expression of McMira? Because I know McMira is a Swedish whiskey, but so I need you to school me on that, Andrew, because I don't know. We have very thin choices on some things down here. So Chad knows that Cavalon life. So now we're looking at Taiwan. They're huge into sherry, right? Thick and chewy and sweet. Yeah, it's almost candy like in that sense. Not like sweet as in like a candy that you chew, but just the sweetness overall. Trooper says he loves the Aaron Sherry Cask Bodega cask strength. Oh man. Well, you said Aaron, so duh. That's I am an Aaron fan girl. I can't help it. Um, let's see. Hey, Richard, good. Thanks for being here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've gotten something in the mail. You should have by today, for sure. Let's see. And yeah, never seen the Deanston 10 PC and other. Yeah, we don't get that down here. About 3 weeks, I'll be making a trip west, if you know what I mean. So we'll be looking for things that we cannot find here for sure. Um, Rob Mack, good to see you here. Thanks for being here. Okay, so Milroy's is London's oldest whiskey shop. Okay, since 1964. It's as old as me. Also, independent bottler, both on their own and collaborating with other like James Eady. Okay, thanks. See, you learn. It's great to be able to talk about this kind of stuff, but this is where you learn because all of these people, they know so much. And I just can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I really do. Daniel says, I love the lore. It is such a palette exploration. It has layers, right? It just kind of it changes so much across the palette and for the length of time that you hold it onto the palette. It really does. It's all that in a bag of chips, right? I mean, it's so very tasty. It really, I love it. So I found this particular thing, and I feel like I'm double dipping. And Mark JG, you'll appreciate this. I will make sure there's still some of this when you come to town in June, but I have to. When Andrew from the Scotch for Dummies was here the other day, they were here a couple weeks ago, and I was like, whatever you see, you want to open, just let me know, open it. He goes, well, no, I said, no, you don't understand. You're worthy to tear the seal. So you all are worthy of me tearing the seal on this one and opening it up, and so we'll enjoy this together. And this is another Kilhoman, and it is a PX sherry matured. So this one I'm really excited about. I don't know. I don't want you focus. Okay, so we're gonna try this one and see if we get a good little snap there and find a clean glass. Like I said, I have many bottles on the table today. And I'm not finished talking, so we're probably gonna go a little over again. Big surprise, right? So this is, I can't fight it anymore. Let me turn these on. So this is sherry matured. It's 47.3. It's the 2021 version. Don't have an age statement on it. So we're gonna try. So Kilhoman Pete. Happy joy. Kilhoman Pete and PX. Oh goodness. So hey, Donna, good to see you. One of my Isla Whiskey Academy kinship friends. Oh, she's having a Bamore 18, a Manzanilla cask. Oh, give us some tasting notes on that one. Interesting. Very like smoke to time ratio. Would love to hear about that, Donna. Donner Pass, friend. Hey, good to see you at work. So you can't have sherry bombs. Well, I'm gonna tell you, we'll have one for you right now because I understand. I know when I watch Roy's show, I'm usually still at work, and I always ask people, have a dram for me because I kind of have to, like work to pay for the whiskey and all that kind of fun stuff. Very cool. Brian Kilco says, so Laura spoiled me and my dad when I bought him a bottle. Yeah, it really does. And some folks get hung up on non-age statements and they really don't want to, they don't think there's a quality whiskey there. And if you don't put a number on it, and I get that and get the transparency kind of thing too. And I am a try before you buy in for most cases, but that's money. If you see Laura, pick it up. It's just so very good. So Andrew's back on for Milroy's. I don't know why I have trouble saying that. In 97 they installed a bar at the shop so you can try before you buy. That's really awesome. Um, over 1,000 different whiskeys. I cannot even imagine. Think how many times you'd have to go in there to kind of run through those. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So this Kilhoman, I am I'm very much getting the crushed raisin off the nose with a very gentle peat and a more of it's not really campfire smoke. It's more of a charcoal for me. Mm. Mouth feels a little thinner than I thought it would be, and it certainly doesn't taste like 47. It's almost tastes like a 43. Um, the you get a little bit of sweetness on the front, but the sweetness combines with a almost a cinnamon ginger heat that just kind of lays out there. No medicinal peat or anything on that. It's just getting a little bit of licorice, just barely hint. And I don't like licorice, but this is tolerant. This is fine. And then more of that kind of coffee chocolate, like a mocha kind of thing going on. This is really, this is really pretty tasty. Mm. But yeah, so the PX, I know, like we talked about before, that Carchus PX. Wow, that one was spectacular. And I have to say, I had that dram in the middle of a peat field on Isla, so it was kind of it was kind of skewed and not fair, if you will. But yeah, so it's just really, really pretty tasty. But if y'all have any other suggestions, I would love for you to. I love how you're putting all this in here because people can go back through and read the comments. I think that's going to be very helpful for folks. Last week we celebrated my 1 year on YouTube and had the Scotch for Dummy guys, and God love them. They were so sweet. They've just been such a big part of my whiskey journey, much less getting on YouTube. And then Thursday night for their show, they just chatted and chatted about me, and I've gotten up to 880 subscribers now, or so we're 120 from the big 1,000. So I appreciate any of y'all letting folks know about the channel. Again, we're gonna have a lot more uninterrupted as soon as the bucket truck shows up and fixes the input line and our upload speeds are better. We do have technology here in South Louisiana. It's not just all alligators and swamp critters, but I can tell you that has been an issue, and I do appreciate everybody having patience with that. But yes, we're going to be doing some cool stuff. I got some things coming up about crawfish season. So this weekend, this weekend or Friday for Good Friday in South Louisiana. South Louisiana is predominantly Catholic, so it's the end of Lent, right? And you do not want to be a crawfish in South Louisiana this weekend because you're gonna get it. You're gonna be eaten for sure. But we've definitely had our quota. Our bourbon club had our crawfish boil this past weekend. There's an Instagram story on my account for that if you want to see what eating a lot of mud bugs looks like. But yeah, so we're excited. I'm super excited for this particular year. We're getting going, we're getting the technology right. We're going to have a lot more content about Louisiana, and I would love your feedback on that as that comes out. We'll be talking about Scotch, absolutely, but I want to share more of my love for South Louisiana with you all while we share a dram and have some fun. And if you would hit the like button, subscribe, get your other whiskey peeps to subscribe and enjoy what all we can do on a Tuesday night. Y'all been lovely. I want to thank everybody for coming. Let's see who else do we have on here. Mark, did you do a seeded whiskey in the enjoy seeded whiskey, peated whiskey? peated whiskey more in the fall. Yeah, I get that for sure. It was really rainy here today. I'm surprised we didn't lose power with the electrical storm that we had. So there was that. And then when look, Andrew's talking, so you're gonna get to go to London. Donner Pass, good for you. I'm so excited that you get to go over there. I love how y'all connect. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. That's the best part of this for sure. But yeah, so I do appreciate it. We're gonna sign off now, but let me know what you thought about this, what things you might want to see in the future. Um, find you a good sherry bomb and share it with a friend because it tastes even better. And so until I see you guys again, we're going to say goodbye and have a great week, y'all. And I'll see you next Tuesday for sure. Slàinte, y'all.